Hello everybody. This is Tiffany the Divine Misfit here. I'm here to give a proper introduction. I know I gave one earlier, but I thought I'd give an introduction of who I am and why this channel is here. So if this channel appears to you, either through the algorithm coming to you, or whether you just scroll on this page, or whether you're subscribers and you just got a notification of this video. Again, my name is Tiffany here, and I decided to come to this spot because this is actually one of my favorite spots to go to when I want to be more grounded and talk to the river here. Okay, bear with me, my camera doesn't have a, to reverse it, so hopefully this looks good. So the snow has been melting. We didn't get much snow. Typically around springtime, like how it is now, it would be more green. But yep, here I am. So what I wanted to talk to you about, and what this video will be about, is my spiritual healing and how my breakup led me to my spirituality. So I was in a 3-year, 8-month relationship where it was mutually toxic, and it was a lot of off and on and a lot of trauma bonding on my side and a lot of manipulation. And when I was used to the cycle thinking that we would get back together, that's when it clicked that it was final. And it ended with a lot of shaming, a lot of talking down, and a lot of manipulation, and a lot of emotional abuse. And the thing is, if there's a beauty to this, that moment, it made me feel like a part of me died. But then, at the same time, a part of me woke up. And for a long time, way before this relationship, I've always noticed about myself that I was always a very spiritual person. And I grew up in a very conservative, religious household. My parents are Mormon, and I remember when I would go to church, I just remember thinking that's what you're supposed to do. And a lot of the things that they would teach us is like to bear your testimony and stuff like that. And I remember we would always say this church is true. But yet, I just felt like it was more like regurgitation than it really was something that really resonated with me. And for the longest time, I've always felt I was a misfit, because I really felt like this wasn't me. Because every time I thought about the Buddha, every time I thought about meditation, and every time I thought about like Zen, and like just even seeing I want to say at the time I didn't know what it was, but anytime like I saw something about like meditations and anything about like the chakras, I felt this happiness in me. And I actually felt that feeling of church, that what I should have got when I was in church, but I never felt it. And I remember always feeling like it was something to be ashamed of. And I remember it was always painted out from like my dad that it was Satan and demonic, when really I felt, how could this be demonic if it makes me feel good? And I've always questioned it. And I remember I had this really gnarly experience, like when I was 13, I was in middle school. I saw this picture of, it was Cosmopolitan magazine, where it was a girl that she was Wiccan. And she talked about how her religion doesn't make her not feel any like judgment or does it make her feel that gay people aren't allowed because being Christian, that was a sin and that was something that is just not tolerated. But for some reason, instead of feeling like this is evil, this is weird, I'm like, this is me. And I've been wanting to make this video for the longest time because I really wanted the viewers and everyone to see that this is me. And the reason why I made this video too was because for the longest time I've slept on it. I've actually slept on making this channel for the longest time. And my goal here is to create a place for people like me who are spiritual, who are woo-woo, who are witchy, those who may not feel like they fit in, those who may have felt unheard in their lives. And I welcome this platform to you. And as I went through my spiritual journey, I remember it made me feel like I'm learning a bit of myself because no one gave me a rule book of this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to practice. And just to be very clear here, I do consider myself witchy. But then at the same time, I consider myself very spiritual because I could feel as I'm talking now, I could just look at this river that's in front of me. And I feel like if I talk to the river, or even sometimes in my life when I always feel very overwhelmed or I feel very stressed out, a lot of times I like to hug a tree. And I know some people, it may not resonate with them, but it's like I can imagine inside of me there's a battery, and you know how when you plug your phone in, you could see that sign where you could see it's going like that, charging. That's the way I feel inside. And the way that I feel, everything here is connected. We are connected, but we're just so busy in our lives. And I feel like a lot of times we're just so disconnected to the nature around us. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling, I'm going on, because I'm trying to talk about spirituality here. But for the longest time, I've always felt called to the moon. I've always been called to just things like a river, because where I grew up in California, and I remember just always looking at the beach, not just a place just to go to hang out. And because, I'm Californian, that's just what we would do if you had time. Traffic, let's be honest. If you can, in your busy time, or if you have time in your schedule, or if you have the gas to afford going to the beach, let's be real here. But I've noticed that every time when I went to the beach, I would sit at the pier and I could just stare at the ocean all day long, and I could feel myself just be mesmerized by water. And I have noticed too that as I did the layers, I remember I could always feel that when I take a shower, that I could just unpack and I can think as I'm taking a shower, more than just me singing. And I'm a horrible singer, but I've always just felt so connected to water. And I've always just felt connected to things that were around me. And, I was told that when you look at the moon, for example, that the moon is, especially a full moon, that all the crazies come out. Well, I guess there is some truth because here I am, But I just remember always feeling like the moon was always so pretty. And I've always felt this pull towards it. And now I'm rambling on, but I've always had this inside of me, but I just suppressed it. And being from a Mormon background, My parents were just very, very conservative, and my dad would see like things like witchcraft and things like spirituality as something of the devil, and I just never practiced it. And I was, like I said before, I was never given a rule book either, so I was just kind of like going as I like learning as I was going. And I just remember like I first started with crystals, and then no, I'm sorry, let me rewind here. When that breakup happened, and how I mentioned that even though I was so heartbroken and so hurt, I felt like a part of me died. But then I felt that part of me wake up. I don't know if I'm getting the scene mixed up, but like the one in Naruto, where he has the fox inside him. And this is when he's trying to learn the jutsu where like you call those animals, and he was trying to call that big toad Gamma, I think that's his name. And how, if I remember correctly, there was an eye that just opened up, and that was the nine-tailed fox that got woken up. That's how I felt like what was in me. And I remember I was just so depressed, and I was trying to read the Bible, and I was trying to, go to church with this friend that I had at the time. But it's like no matter what, I just couldn't feel like this was me. And I was just so depressed at this time that I remember I went on YouTube and I was looking up what's their karma for them hurting you. And then a couple of days later, my sister with her friend at the time and my cousin, they came with tarot. And I was like, holy crap, like that to me, like as I get older, and maybe this is just my woo-woo talking, but I no longer believe in coincidences. Sometimes I believe we get little signs in life that are telling us things, or like signs from the universe, the signs from nature, that things that you need to know, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through like angel numbers, or whether it's through dreams, or whether it's through like just those little things that come up and you want to say, I don't know about this. This just doesn't feel on the surface level that this is just a coincidence. I do believe, because living in this world, when there's energy around us, just like Avatar, just like what they say in Avatar, The Last Airbender, that is one of my favorite cartoons, by the way, where he says everything is connected, and he puts his hand down and he gets a vision. Oh, I think that's when they went to see the forest or the swamp, and he puts his hand down and he sees a vision of Katara, like she's getting tangled up. I'm just doing this all by memory. But everything is connected to us. And hopefully you're still here, me rambling. But as I later went into tarot, I taught myself tarot. And, I bought books. And then my spirituality then began to make me look inward too, because I've always felt I was never intuitive. I was, from my own conditioning and from my own shame and from my own self-worth issues, I always felt like I was low and I was just didn't deserve respect. And I've always was made to believe that I was dumb, or I didn't know what I was talking about. People were smarter than me. And my spirituality made me look inward towards myself. And this is also where my spirituality helped me see patterns, where I began to look back at times of my intuition. And then I learned that all this time I've had my intuition. Hopefully this goes, because I feel like when I made this video, I had no script. This is just me rambling. This is me talking. So I'm just going as I come with what I'm gonna say. And with my spirituality, it made me look at myself as in my own patterns and who I chose for relationships. And then I began to see the patterns from my parents, from my mom and my dad. And I began to see their own traumas. And then it began to make me look past, what they did, and more like, what is their conditioning and wounds on, from what they learned from their parents. And this actually gave me an idea of maybe possibly talking more about generational trauma. Because if you don't heal what's in you, you're bound to repeat it. And unfortunately, that's what happened with our parents and, their parents, and so on and so forth. And I feel like now this is the time for a lot of people who may not be into spirituality, but I have noticed there has been a switch in people where they look at themselves and they see the patterns in them from their own parents that they've repeated, and they're trying to break the trauma, the generational trauma. And I remember I was saying this to somebody that is one of the things I'm very grateful for this time of age. So what I plan on doing next with this channel is I want to make a Talk It Out Thursday where I talk about things like being an empath and learning how to reclaim your power back. And I'm still learning and I'm still healing myself. And healing is just never a linear. It's messy, and sometimes you're gonna mess up. Just like right now, like how when I came here, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just talk about spirituality. I'm just gonna talk about this and have everything figured out. But the honest truth, I'm still healing. In fact, I actually went through a 101 where we did a talk and we're talking about boundaries, which I could talk about boundaries, which is like for another video for another day. So I'm just being as all over the place and messy as much as I can, because that's just who I am. And before I log off, I did want to say a little bit more about my spirituality. I've learned that with my spirituality, that I feel like it's made me really look at myself, because a lot of times I always felt rejected because I'm weird, because typically when people hear about like what I'm into, and I have to pick and choose who I talk to about this, and that's where I put the boundary with myself about who I can speak this to, because not everyone is meant to know about everything about you. You have to pick and choose and feel the person before you could just say, hey, I'm a witch. Hey, I do this. And hey, guess what? I did this protection spell, or I did this limpia. And with my spirituality, it made me see that I have to accept myself because not everyone's going to understand it, but see the beauty in it. But see how before in my healing journey, I remember I used to have like a really big anger towards Christians, and maybe I could do this on another day for maybe someone who may resonate. But I used to have a lot of anger towards God and Jesus because I remember as I was taught, I always was taught that Jesus was like my dad. And I grew up in a household where whatever the dad said went, and if he talked back, you got reprimanded, and how we always had to like basically regulate and make sure not to set off my dad, and that we were the ones regulating his emotions versus like him being able to regulate himself. And I always felt that it was never safe to be truly who you were. And now, like with my spirituality, it's made me see that not everyone's going to understand you. But it's okay. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is meant to be in your tribe. But it's about accepting every little thing about you. Because everything about you is what makes you beautiful. And that is my mission for my whole entire channel, is that everything about you, the good, the weird, the quirky, in fact, if you're weird, that's even awesome. Weirdos, I love my weirdos. I feel a weirdo to another weirdo, I love you. But my spirituality has shaped me to my beliefs and how I feel about myself, and learning my core values. Hopefully this makes sense. So hopefully you're here and you're staying with me. But it's also made me very experimental as well, because when I've met these people at a healer's brunch, and it's made me see that I need to expand. We were talking about plant medicine, and we were talking about how these incredible people, they went to Peru and Costa Rica, where my grandpa's from, and staying in the Amazon and living with the tribes, and just getting a sense of life where there's no phone, no technology, you're here and you're more grounded. And it's made me want to see and experiment with how there's medicine in nature. There's medicine in plants. And that Mother Nature gives if you know where to look. So, yeah, I hope I'm going to end it here. Again, thank you so much. Again, for all those who are new to my channel, or if this video finds you, or if it's on your algorithm, just want to give you a nice warm welcome. And again, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. I love you. Bye-bye. Have a great, beautiful day.